recording on Audition. I'm recording on Zoom. How are you doing, Thooper?
Did you just call me a Thooper?
No?
You're becoming more southern and southern by the day. How's your cousin looking?
It actually is weird when I spend more time around my father, like little redneck sayings start slowly creeping in, and I don't know, I'm getting fatter too. That might have something to do with it. But what did you just ask?
How's your cousin looking?
Oh, you're accusing me of incest. Oh, okay. Nah, I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah. I'm not that desperate.
That's never been a consideration for me.
I mean, not for me either. I'm just saying theoretically, Thupa.
Theoretically. Yeah.
Theoretically. Like in anime.
What, do you impose yourself into Oreimo?
No. God, Oreimo fucking sucks.
It was kind of dull.
People fucking act like it's like, no, it's kind of a good show. No, it's just bad.
It was just kind of boring.
Yeah,
I
like that's
watched it. There were some good moments, but overall it was just dull.
Yeah, fucking Oreimo. People act. It's not the incest stuff. Like, yeah, that probably doesn't help. But
I don't give a shit about that. The girls were cute. I'll give it that.
The fundamental problem with Oreimo is just nothing happens in it. I think I watched it when that Arrow manga shit was popping off, because I never watched Oreimo, but everyone was talking shit about Arrow manga and being like, "Oh, Oreimo is so much better." So I watched a bit of Oreimo, and it's just people standing in a room talking about the concept of incest porn. That's all that happens in the show.
It's largely the same, just kind of less kinky.
Yeah, it's horrible. I did there were a few episodes where they go on little adventures. The one really good joke in Oreimo was how the main girl and the girl that everyone likes, Kuroneko, they're both authors and they both write each other into their stories and have them get raped and murdered and stuff. That was funny because that's something that girls would actually do.
There we go. You woke it up finally. I was waiting for something sexist.
Is that sexist? Honestly, is that sexist?
I think
women would bully each other by writing them into their stories. Is that? I don't know if that's sexist. Is it sexist? Is it sexist to acknowledge differences in genders?
No, it is. There we go. We finally got there.
Okay. I mean, I think it's objectively true that women generally eschew physical violence and harm each other with words and bullying. But
you don't have to prove my point any further. We've already got as far as we need to go.
No, I'm just talking now. And the Oreimo is maybe a good transition because we're talking about High Guardian Spice, and it's the same goddamn thing. Every character in High Guardian Spice wants to have sex with their little sister. That's the whole point of the show. They hid that in the advertising, but now you know.
I don't know if I agree with that, because what I think the show is about is animals fucking.
Oh, right.
We just start with that, and then people evolve into animals slowly. And then in the second season, it's just furry porn. Just furry porn. Repeatedly. In and out, every episode.
Yeah, every show that goes on long enough slowly becomes furry porn. People don't know this, but The Simpsons is entirely furry porn now, and has been for many years.
I haven't watched a lot of seasons, so
yeah.
It probably is.
Yeah, know what's funny, Thupa? How not funny I am. Anyways, we're talking about High Guardian Spice, the worst show in the world, although it's really not that bad, although that makes it worse.
A lot of I saw this comment and I just couldn't disagree with it because, God, I don't remember exactly how it went, but the idea of it was that people are just pissed about the show because it's trying to be inclusive, not because it's bad.
Yeah.
Like people are really nitpicking it, and it is not a good show, but it's not nearly as bad as people make it out to be.
It's just nothing. It's just a nothing show. There are some things in High Guardian Spice that are bafflingly bad. Like
There
you
are
wonder
definitely
how
standouts there.
you wonder how an adult put that on a piece of paper and sent it to another adult and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get paid for this."
No, even the bigger problem is that they had 4 years to iron those kinks, and they haven't even gotten to balancing their premiere episode. Like, the audio mixing of the first episode
Oh.
was fucking atrocious.
Yeah.
It was to the point where we sat down and you were talking, and I was pushing in my headphones into my head, trying to hear what was happening in the episode, and I couldn't make out the words over the music.
Yeah, and the irony of all ironies, Crunchyroll made their own fucking TV show, and it didn't have subtitles.
In English.
Yeah. Oh no, the Italian subtitles were awesome. They really added to the experience.
Beepity bobbity! Me gusta.
Yeah. I got to learn some Italian words. It'll help if I ever talk to Michi. But
See! Wait,
yeah,
that's Spanish.
see. Yeah, who cares? it's all close enough.
Is it Spanish? I think that's Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish, French, Portuguese,
whatever.
Italian, whatever. They're all the Roman languages.
They're all in one general area.
Yeah. What the fuck was I saying? What do we even talk about with High Guardian Spice? Because nothing happens in the show. Like, that's the real problem, is just nothing happens.
Well, no, stuff happens.
I mean, there's motion and color change, if that's what you mean.
Well, let's start with the beginning. Let's get with how I got you to even watch that shit, and why I got you to watch that shit. Because, so the beginning was, one day, I was browsing Twitter, and I saw some screenshots of the show. And I thought, those character designs look familiar. Where do I know that from? And then I started browsing through the comments, and I was like, oh my god. I remember hearing about this show years ago. And it raised some shitstorm of some kind. I didn't pay attention. I didn't care. Why do I care about other people being disappointed? They do it with me on a daily basis. So, I went to watch the show, and the first minute gave me such a violent whiplash that I was like, this is a special kind of bad. This has to be. I need to watch it with other people. Because...
Thank you for including me in that.
You're welcome.
I mean, I woke up this morning wanting to watch Osama Ranking. Wanted to watch my little Prince Boy show, watch him try to get his kingdom back. But no, we're going to talk about High Guardian Spice. Thank you for, changing my life.
Speaking of cartoons, I watched some South Park today. They came out with a special episode, and it's actually pretty good.
Okay, we're talking High Guardian Spice.
Yes, High Guardian Spice.
we
So
needed to fucking focus on High
the
Guardian
violent
Spice.
whiplash, right?
Yeah, violent whiplash.
The kind that just happened in the podcast.
Yeah.
So, I sat down to watch the show, and it starts out, well, with the main character kind of walking on and starting a lore dump on us. And I was like, oh, we're doing the exposition from the start. So, this is a show for young kids. And then a soy boy, a YouTube influencer, and a hipster walk onto the screen, and the music starts screeching in my ears as they try to unload exposition into me that I cannot hear. And I think to myself, yes, this can be the new Inferno Cop. I am so down for this.
God. Wait, Inferno Cop is good though.
Inferno Cop is 10 out of 10. It's one of the best animes I've seen.
And High Guardian
Unironically.
Spice is as well.
And High Guardian Spice is a definite 5. Which is the worst score I can give.
4.
No.
3.
You see, 5
2.
is completely forgettable and unimpressive. Stuff happened, there was good stuff, there was bad stuff, I'll forget all about either one in an hour. But sometimes by the time I finish the fucking show, even if I got there. 4, there's something bad there. There's something to catch on. 3, there's significant problems with the show. 2, the show makes me angry. 1, I've given to 3 shows. 2 shows. And they make me physically sick watching that
Let me
shit.
guess. Arrow Manga and Orihimo.
No.
Technolize.
Fuck. Remembering the names makes me angry. Oh, shit.
Of Technolize?
No.
Okay.
It's fucking Sucker Punch or whatever it was called. It was one of those shows where it was a comedy. It starts with it looks kind of fancy, but the whole premise is that there's like a fucking kid who gets nosebleeds when he sees underwear, and the fucking world dies when that happens.
That's every anime.
It's a show where no joke landed for me once, and they tried so hard, and it fucking made me sick and angry, and I don't want to talk about it. It's I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
give
let's not. We're
ones a
talking about
chance.
High Guardian Spice,
Yes,
not
yes.
the cut. I'm gonna have to cut like half of this fucking podcast because we keep fucking forgetting what we're doing. Because I'm tired because it's the day after Thanksgiving.
What happened on you for Thanksgiving?
I ate food.
That made you tired?
Yeah, that's all we do. It's not a complicated holiday, Thupa. We just eat food and pretend to care about the Native Americans.
Oh my god.
Okay.
That's difficult. Jesus.
Okay.
I would wish that on my enemy.
Okay, I wouldn't wish that on my anime either because anime is fucking horrible. But but yes, the show starts. It has a beginning, and then nothing happens, and then it ends.
Well, stuff does happen.
No, it doesn't.
There are animals fucking.
I don't remember this.
There. Don't remember animals fucking?
No. Oh yeah, in like the first episode. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, like over a pendant.
I don't care. Okay, here's the thing with the show. It says the name is High Guardian Spice, right? So you assume there's going to be people who are going to High Guardian stuff, and they're going to be spicy about it, I guess. Most of the characters are named after spices. I have no fucking clue why they did that. It doesn't factor into the show at all. Maybe it was going to be like baking themed at some earlier
It's called
stage.
aesthetics. It's a fantasy setting, I'll have you know.
Oh, yeah, that's their world building. Oh, we'll name our main character Rosemary. Done.
Speaking about world building. What the fuck do Guardians do in this world?
They
This
don't
was a
do
question-
anything. Like, why are
This is
they
a question
there?
we're repeatedly asking. What's the problem with this world? Are there monsters in it? I think there are.
Like, this is the thing. Apparently, Guardians are the most important people in this world. They never say what Guardians are. They go into the world, and it's not like Adventure Time. Like, Adventure Time, everything is very fantastical and pretty, but there's this lingering darkness. You see the shells of nuclear bombs. You know that something is really not right under the surface of this world, even if it's very pleasant moment to moment, usually. It's
Like,
this
they go
world where-
dungeoneering all the time. There are skeletons and corpses and shit in fucking Adventure Time. All the time.
There's the Lich.
There's the even before the Lich, like the first season, they just go adventuring.
Yeah, like when the
No.
Lich shows up, it makes perfect sense. Oh yeah, something like this totally existed in the world. High Guardian Spice, they call themselves Guardians. Imagine if the fucking Teletubbies had fucking swords and armor and shit for no reason. That's how safe this world is, but it's like, oh, we're Guardians from what?
We're guarding people from witches, I think. Because there's a witch city. But the witch that comes from there is actually good. Actually, I think multiple people come from there because there's a bitch woman girl
Thupa,
in there.
Thupa, I think
Yes.
the Guardians exist to burn and persecute witches is the absolute last fucking thing the writers would put in this show.
They're just fucking crusaders. She does have a sword. It's a family relic. It works.
Yeah, it's almost like the Guardians are samurai during peacetime. Like they train with their weapons on the maybe theoretical chance that something will happen eventually. But it's not medieval Japan. It's again the Teletubby world. That's an exaggeration, but not by that fucking much.
Well, you see, samurai, considering the kind of samurai we're talking, if we're talking original samurai, well, actually, I think we should reference the kind that were more bureaucrats than anything, with warrior culture ingrained in them.
Yeah, it's almost like the Guardians are this class of the Guardians are a privileged class of warrior administrators that are mostly a holdover from a previous time. And this is all conjecture because they go very far into it. I don't think there's ever a single fucking moment where they explain what a Guardian does.
I mean, they stab people.
Do we ever see them stab someone?
We see Rosemary stabs a person. Well, kinda. She
By
tries
accident,
to. She
almost.
gets her.
Yeah, that's a running gag in the series. Rosemary's just a clumsy idiot and waves swords around and almost hits people with them.
Well, she hits a person once. Actually, hits, and that's when the show got excited because there was like stakes.
No,
And I know
when
that
were there stakes? In what, episode 11? When the
Yeah,
show was
it's
almost
like a-
over?
Yeah, by the time it was almost over, yeah.
Yeah. This is the big problem with the show. Like, there are no stakes, and the central conflict of the show, to the extent you could call it that, has, like, nothing to do with the conceit of the show.
There are no stakes and no meat on the bones.
The only thing going on, really, is they do the Made in Abyss thing, where the main character, her mother was a guardian, and she mysteriously disappeared one day. And she's going to become a guardian, which doesn't help her accomplish that at all. Like, her missing mother, they don't connect that to the main character becoming a guardian at any point. All the characters are just becoming guardians because they're coming of age, and that seems like an obvious thing to do, I guess. None of the big problems in their life have the fucking thing to do with them being guardians. It's like we're having a show with teenagers, hanging out, having teenager hijinks, and then it's like, okay, we're going to just follow the teenagers at their first day jobs. And, nothing's going to happen there that they're all that invested in, but, we'll just watch them stock shelves.
The more you talk about it, the more it sounds like Ruby. Have you seen that?
No. I missed the boat with Ruby to the point where by the time I tried to watch it, the moment was over. I didn't care.
Yeah, it's really not worth it, but it's just like everything you've just said is the exact same thing but in the first season of Ruby as well. They're named random shit for no reason. Well, are they?
I don't know.
There's Ruby, Rose, there's
There's always a reason.
Blonde Girl, and there's Weiss now. I think they're named like people.
Okay, I don't give a shit. But anyway, yeah, fucking, they become guardians. It has nothing
There's a
to do
cat
with
girl.
anything.
Wait, they both have cat girls. It is
Yeah,
Ruby.
Every show has cat girls now. Yeah,
I wish
but
they did.
But this is the whole problem with the show. They have the setting, which is this magical guardian school, and then they have the personal conflicts and arc of the people, but they don't have anything to do with each other. It's just they happen to be taking magic classes at a school, And there's almost no drama with the magic classes. It's just basically assumed, oh yeah, they go to classes, they learn stuff, everything's fine.
And all the teachers blow ass at their job.
Oh my god, the teachers fucking suck. There's one teacher in particular where we'll get to her, but she's like objectively making the kids bad people.
You mean the old hag that
Yes,
just
the old
poisoned
bitch.
everybody?
Oh yeah, who first day of class, she's like, okay, everyone, have some tea. They drink the tea. And it's like, okay, I have poisoned you. You're about to die. Ha 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 ha. You have to make an antidote in 20 minutes. Which, I mean, in another show, not, you know what? Not,
It could have been intense in another show, but we know there are no stakes in this.
yeah, no one's going
We know
to die.
nothing's going to happen. Nobody's going to die. It's just random and unnecessary.
Yeah, the only stakes in the show are minor emotional quibbles that are inside the fucking characters, where it's just relationships. Really, at bottom, the characters just resent their parents for giving birth to them. That's the real problem here, is they
They're
exist and they
angsty
hate
children.
their parents because they exist. But that doesn't fit into the story at all, because their parents aren't fucking there. They're at a boarding school.
Yeah. And the only parents that show up are quickly told, I don't care about you, Mom.
I also
I am an
found it.
independent black woman.
Oh yeah, Time sure is, the elf girl. I did find that a little funny though, because at one point, when they start trying to introduce danger later in the show, I find myself thinking, you really failed to establish a meaningful status quo that we care about before you add the danger. So with most of the kids, we see their homes. Yeah, but with most of the kids, we see their parents and their homes as just, asshole places with squares who treated them poorly. And Time is like, hey guys, we have to go save the fairy forest. And it's like, why? So you can go visit your bitch of a mother there? Who gives a shit? You hate the people there. Why do we care?
Well, you see, she doesn't hate the people. She likes her father, but her mother must have sent her away or kept her away in some manner. We don't know.
Yeah, it's not like she loves the fairy forest. It's like, oh yay, all the wonderful memories of me growing up and being conflicted with my parents fighting
She
and
just
shit.
wants to hang out with her father.
Yeah, you don't need... Yeah, okay, fine. They do a thing early on where the really short girl, who is the only one of the main four who's at least kind of tolerable... where she- Parsley.
Parsley.
Yeah.
I remember Par.
Yeah, Parsley. She's the little blonde dwarf girl with a hammer, and she's a smith.
Oh, and I remember somebody corrected me on her not being a short stack, because she isn't stuck enough.
Yeah, no. I mean, her breasts are slightly larger than the rest of the team. Also, I made
Considering
that
to the
point.
rest.
Yeah. Also, I made that point. They just stole the color palette of Madoka and did it worse. And in Madoka, Mommy, the yellow one, is the only one with breasts.
Yeah.
And in High Guardian Spice, Parsley, also the yellow one, is the only one with breasts. Like, this means something, Thupa.
You know what also means? They tried to pull Madoka in, like, the last bit of the show where they were like, we're gonna go really dark with it, or try to... And it was so... they tried so hard, it was just funny, because they just invented a bad guy who was like, I'm gonna stab everybody!
Yeah, it would really suck if, like, a long tube-like creature went down and snapped, and everyone was like, oh no, Parsley's head is gone. Then it's like, oh no, she's just short.
No, she just sat on the ground.
She's just like that. He's like, oh no, they cut off Time's tits. Oh wait, never mind. I'm just being fucking... I'm just bullying the tween girls over their bodies now. I hate this show. I don't hate this show. I'm its number one fan, but it's not a good show.
I have to give them some credit though, because I saw the scene with the transgender explanation, right? And that was completely unnecessary.
You say I saw the scene, like I wasn't watching it with you.
No, what I meant to say is I saw it before I actually saw it in the show. Like, I saw the clip of it. And so I saw that, and it was like kind of just fucking retarded when I saw it, because it comes out of nowhere. It just happens.
Okay.
And it's like a lengthy explanation for children, but the show is clearly aimed at what seems like adults.
Yeah, we fucking cracked up at one point because I think we realized we're laughing at the show and be like, haha, this is for kids. Then we kind of realized, oh wait, I think we are the actual audience.
We are the audience for this.
Just isolated men in their, like, around the age of 30. May God have mercy on my soul.
Like, we are the target audience.
Yeah,
but
it's a children's
it
show.
Up like children.
Yeah, it's a children's show made for adults, where My Little Pony caused a fucking split in the timeline, and we're at the point now where people are making shows with the intention of it being that, where they're making children's shows knowing that the audience will primarily be adults, or at least people in their late teens. And they're skipping the intermediate step of actually trying to make a show for children. It's like, oh yeah, we're just going to make children's show for old men now. That's not weird at all.
Like, I know we talked yesterday and I said I didn't believe in a single conspiracy theory, but I'm gonna... What if they wanted people to hate watch this?
Well done.
What if their target audience were people hate watching the show? Like, and they tried to piss everybody off so they would watch this.
The response was so bad when they dropped it that they basically knew that was going to happen no matter what. Because
like,
every single person knew about the show in the context of people hating it.
The first episode was objectively horrible. Objectively horrible.
The first 10 episodes were objectively horrible.
No, that's the problem.
Yes.
After that, it's just dull and boring. It's not bad enough to be really bad. And it sometimes does some shit kinda good. Because, for example, as I was trying to get to, like that scene with transgender, it comes kind of out of nowhere. It's tactless, but it's not bad enough. They don't treat me like a complete idiot. They kinda... It's not the first interaction they have with the character, and they kinda hint at it before that, so I was like, oh, that's actually not as bad as I expected it to be.
This is the weird thing about High Guardian Spice, is...
What was it, in the second episode? They meet the lesbian couple, right?
I think that was the first episode, because the first episode is them going to the city.
Maybe the first episode.
Second episode is them actually going to school, I think.
Like, they never explicitly sit down and talk about what lesbian relationship is. They never, like,
well, why would they?
Accentuate on it in any way, shape, or form throughout the show. They are just a lesbian couple. And I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting you to treat me like an idiot who doesn't know that women date sometimes.
I mean, they did put the giant wedding picture on the wall just to make sure you... just to clarify, but... Yeah, but I mean...
I don't think they ever, like, zoomed my face into the picture.
Well, I think they were smart in that they understood, like, being gay is not even interesting anymore.
It just seemed natural, alright? And I was surprised about it. I was expecting it to feel natural. I expected them to ham-fist it and milk it.
I'll also say this, Thupa. It is 2021, although maybe they made the show in 2016 and just sat on it, who the fuck knows. At this point, I think even the people who are obsessive about pushing, progressive shit into media for children, for adults, I think even those people understand that being gay is just normal now. Like, things are kind of different in Russia, I get that, but here in my head, I almost register gay as, like, a branch of Catholicism at this point. Like, it's not even subversive. Like, being gay is, like, almost conservative now.
Fucking go and be like Russia's this Middle Ages. Compared to everything.
It is.
And I walk up the hill in the snow up to my knee 3 kilometers a day to get to the school. And then on my way back, I hitch a horse.
Is that a song? No, okay, Thupa. I'm
No,
gonna
that's just my Tuesday.
Thupa, stare me in the eye through the computer and tell me that Russia is as into, like, progressive sexual norms as America is. Like, look me in the face and tell me that right now.
No, we're not.
Yeah,
But
like in East.
I'll give you a counter argument. You know what we do instead?
Kill journalists, which I support.
We don't give a shit.
Okay, see, that's a healthy attitude.
That's-
But in America, they
that's
give
just-
a shit a lot.
You give a shit a lot, and we're like, if you're gay, just don't, just don't bother people with it. Who gives a fuck? If you flaunt it, we're gonna make fun of you. It's like, in the private of your own house, if I don't know that you're fucking your dog, I don't have to think about it, and I don't have to consider it.
Well, I mean, I think dog fucking pushes it a bit, but yeah, I get the vibe of what you mean with that.
Hey, if the dog consents,
Okay, this is
I'm not opening this can of worms, alright?
no, but this
No,
is okay.
that's not okay with me.
Okay,
That's
we're gonna-
not okay.
Yeah, that's all going in the garbage next to High Guardian Spice Collector's Edition. But the
Well, you see,
Wait, no,
because
God.
in High Guardian Spice, they do fuck them.
thank you, Thupa. We'll get to all the weird cultural war shit in the show, or not in the show, as the
Alright.
case really is. But one thing I want to say about High Guardian Spice, the show is filled with elements that are okay. There are no designs in the show that are great. There's no character I would want a fucking figure of or put a poster of. There's no music I would listen to, except the ending, which I find just funny in its own way. The,
What's the blue-haired girl name? With the witch head?
Sage. Oh, it's easy to remember
Yeah,
that
Sage.
because she's wise.
Yes.
Like a sage.
She's a wizard, right?
Yeah, she's a wizard.
I think she
Harry.
looks good. I like her design.
Yeah, well, like, she looks good, but are you going to have a poster of her?
No, she looks like a discount Witch Academia character.
No, and she also looks like Shirk from Berserk, except worse.
Oh yeah, I suppose I did. Yeah.
And this show is very derivative. It has kind of a flat, poppy look to the visuals that is more in line with Western animation, I think.
It looks like
than-
Steven Universe. Like, legitimately, side by side, it looks like Steven Universe.
If you remember early Steven Universe, it was actually Unique Namosaurus who said this, but a big problem with the visuals in early Steven Universe is it looked way flatter than it had to, because they were really careless about shading and, you know, adding shadows and gradients and highlights. And as the show went along, it got better.
I think that's something that also happened here, because what I see when I see this show is, first and foremost, a troubled production cycle. There's been some shit behind the scenes that we're not aware of. There's probably people leaving all the time. It must have been a fucking horrible place to work at, because first thing I see here, the first episode is clearly a problem of production cycle. Like, the show must have lacked direction, and the way it ends screams to me they came up with the ending and they don't know where to go with it. They were like, we need a second season, we need to bait them in somehow, we'll just drop a random bombshell at the end, and then we'll figure it out later.
The production is almost objectively troubled at this point. You can just look at the credits. Half the people on the show, the entire creative side, you know, creative in quotes, is, you know, generic white and or Latina women. I assume there's a few Jews in there as well, who knows. Then the entire technical side, it's just walls of fucking Korean names.
Oh my god.
There's this duality to the production of this show, where on one hand, you have white women needing to go to therapy because they launched their super diverse show and the internet just raked them over the coals for it. Then you have a bunch of Koreans in sweatshops who are only vaguely aware of what the show is about or what the names of the people are, but they're just hunched over their little drawing closet. Yeah, there's a fucking Korean warlord with a drum just drumming away as row upon row of Korean in-between artists sits with their little draw tablets.
Also, I have to battle internet on this because I think Slime Boy is actually a good character.
He's tolerable. That's what I'm saying about the show. There's a bunch of stuff in it that's okay. That if it was handled better in a different show, it could be kind of fun. It's just, it doesn't fit together and it's divorced from context. And a big problem is there's no stakes in the show.
There's no direction.
Having this little quirky character like Slime Boy that talks in a really weird way and is distractible and all that, that's a nice little, fun character thing. But he doesn't really fit into the events of the show. Like, Slime Boy literally does nothing of consequence the entire show, as do most of the characters.
Well, he plays on the lute once, and...
Yes, he plays on the lute.
Our characters get melancholic because of it.
You know who I was thinking about with Slime Boy?
Who's that?
I was thinking about Johnny from Ed, Edd and Eddy. You ever used to watch Ed, Edd and Eddy?
God, that was a lot of years back. I don't even know how many.
But Johnny
Which one is Johnny?
Johnny is the bald kid who has plank, the piece of wood.
Oh, okay, I remember him. All right.
And Johnny's thing is he would always wander in on these situations where something really screwed up was happening with the Ed boys, and he'd just be weird or quirky, or he'd make the situation worse. I was thinking about what makes Johnny so lovable, where I don't care that much about Slime Boy, who's kind of the same vibe.
Very naive, and he always was taken advantage of, if I remember.
Kind of. Well, Johnny was more just like this entity that he was kind of just like a force of, he was just in his own world. Like, he didn't really engage.
The joke.
He didn't really engage with other people at all. He lived life by his own rules. Johnny was a Sigma. But the thing about Johnny is Johnny was funny because... No, Thupa. But what made Johnny so fun is in Ed, Edd and Eddy, you had these really strong personalities that were extremely motivated. Usually Ed would start a conflict, and then, other people would play off of him and make it worse. Johnny would walk into these really tense, really complicated, really funny situations, and he was like a spanner in the works, and his energy would fuck up what was going on. They have kind of the same vibe with Slime Boy, but Slime Boy is a quirky character in a world where nothing happens. So he's not being on
the joke, but there's no straight man to play it
there's no joke. There's no setup. It's just a walking punchline in a world of no setups.
Oh my god, a walking punchline. Punchline! That's the anime!
Oh, good. It all came full circle. I'm so glad.
Oh, fuck.
We figured it out. If only there's a character named Ori Emo, we'll figure this out. But the big problem with the show is there's nothing for these characters to play off of because there's no stakes and there's no conflict. It's just people going to school and fucking talking to each other. So having the quirky, wacky, force of chaos character show up, it doesn't accomplish anything because there's no progressing stream of narrative for him to disrupt. He's just making weird noises in a world where all characters do is make noises.
Well, there is actually something he could have disrupted. I think they kind of tried to play that in the latter part of the show. Because when the entire show is about people talking, right? He has to disrupt the talking. And the talking part is usually about gender or sexuality in some manner or way. So, in the latter part of the show where we have fucking, what's her name again? Discount Witch Girl Academia. Sage, yes, wise, right.
Yeah.
She suddenly comes out as she has romantic feelings with Rosemary? Like, that that happens, and in
Well,
that
a
same
little bit.
episode,
There's a little bit of subtext. Do you mean Snapdragon?
no, like legitimately, yes, Snapdragon like is sitting talking to her, and he like asks her if she more than likes Rosemary, and she's like, yes.
Oh yeah, I mean they
Pretty
have a
much.
little thing. We'll get to Snapdragon. We'll get to Snapdragon, who
no,
is actually
what-
the what?
Yeah, we'll get to Snapdragon. He's actually a good character. What I was
he's
getting
the
to
only good
is
character.
he's one of the good ones. I kind of like him better. Anyway, so what they tried in that episode is like Rosemary tries to unleash embarrassing memories, and make up with Sage that way. I'm trying so hard to remember what actually happens.
Don't. Who cares? If you don't remember, that's the show's fault.
It's relevant to the argument. Like Slime Boy tries to like convince them otherwise, and kind of follows them around and makes fun of people in that episode. And there were a couple of jokes that we together laughed at in that episode.
It's that is a weird thing about the show. There were about 6 times in this show when I unironically laughed. And I think the show is funniest when it lulls you into a sense of security where they start telling a joke and you take it
the
at face.
fucking bird was funny. The bird joke.
The bird was funny. The bird was funny. Which the bird joke is there's a part where everyone gets turned to stone, and the fucking bitch school bully character knocks over a little bird statue and it breaks. And everyone looks at her like, you just fucking killed a bird. And she's like, no, that was one of the decorations from earlier. And you look at that and you go, yeah, this show is for fucking pussy little fucking girl men. They're not going to actually kill a bird. They wouldn't have the chutzpah to kill an animal in this show. Then later, when everyone gets unstoned, you see that girl
She's kind
bending
of
over a
in the
pile of
background.
fucking bird mulch and being upset. And the humor for me there is like, oh, the show knows that it sucks, and it tricked me into believing that it told the worst joke ever, and I fell for it. Then it's like, oh no, they actually did it.
You at least enjoyed some meta narrative. I was like, haha, bird dead funny.
Bird dead funny. And it was just a good joke on its own. But the weird thing about this show is when it's good, it's almost good in spite of itself, where you're like, oh, hey, that was actually not a bad moment, as opposed to the one before it, where like you're proud of the writers almost for succeeding. Because I think this is
in the end.
I think that, yeah, that is actually my biggest takeaway from the show, where when you see it, it looked just like garbage. It looked like the biggest waste of time in the history of the world. Like, it really looked like a lazy cash grab where Crunchyroll was overstepping what it thought it could do. And at the bottom of the day,
my problem with the show is that it feels like a lazy cash grab. It's not bad enough to be really bad.
Yeah, and that's the biggest takeaway from it is the reason the show exists, I almost completely believe, is it's the executives at Crunchyroll wanted the ego boost of being like, hey, we financed our own show. Look at how cool we are. We're like Netflix. I don't think it was ever a real financial move. I think it was the CEO trying to, I don't know, stroke their dick or whatever. But the writing staff,
that makes a lot of sense.
But the writing staff, they actually did try. Like, they actually did give a shit. They didn't do a good job, but you can tell they actually did care about trying to make a good show.
I wonder. I just keep on wondering. Was there a better version of this somewhere that's been like discarded and lost in the troubled production cycle?
No. I don't. I'm not going that far, Thupa.
Like, there's sometimes good there. Like, these people know how to write at least moments, and they're trying to go for You're gonna hate it, but they're trying to go for Rick and Morty narrative style, where every episode is a secluded story, but they all come together in the end for something more.
It's fucking... Yeah.
Maybe that was too much to ask of them. Maybe they don't have experience enough.
Yeah,
to
maybe
pull it
don't
off.
have 15 writers who are there on the basis of their fucking gender. Like, maybe that's not the smartest thing. Like, you can have female writers, but on some level, it's probably just writing a show by committee and the failure of that. Where I think there was just too much going on at once, because they had so many different fucking constraints where, one, they have a bunch of writers who I don't think are super experienced. Two, they're hiring people based on networking purposes, where the thing where they're like, oh, hey, it's a female, diverse writers. That's code for they were trying to network really hard with how they fucking hired people. And three, they have like Crunchyroll and Miles or whoever the fuck he is staring down their neck, trying to project whatever weird alien goals they had. The real motivation behind the show, like the puppet master in the background is trying to pull the strings to get in a certain type of production, and the puppet master is also fucking retarded.
And you know that you never trust Miles.
Yeah, exactly. So they had so many different... There was probably so much going on in the background that the writing ended up being worse than it might have been under better circumstances. Because there was just too much going on that was an obstacle to writing a good show.
Since we're talking about bad and kinda good, I want to mention quickly the last episode, because they really tried, but that came out so bad.
Well, wait, do you mean the last scene or like the big dumb action sequence?
The last episode in general.
The last episode?
In the last episode, they just come up with a bad guy. They just pull one out of their head.
Well, no, Thupa. We were wondering the whole time, who's that guy in the silhouette in the opening?
I was like, it's gotta be the beach girl and the soy boy. I don't remember their names.
That's a lot of people, Thupa.
Bitch girl with an axe and the
blonde guy, the bimbo?
Snapdragon.
Snapdragon? Oh, Snapdragon would never betray his friends. He's too good for that. I was like,
well, in the beginning of the show, I was like, well, maybe they are specifically isolating these characters, because I was theory crafting. I was like, all right, what would happen in a good show? What's her name? The one that hangs out with Snapdragon, right?
I do not know her name. I just call her Purple Girl.
I'll come up with a name for her. Her name is purple hair and girl. Pearl. Her name is Pearl. That's how I do it in D&D, by the way. I just take two worlds, mash them together, then make it sound like something makes sense.
Sure, now watch me find the actual... Oh, Amaryllis is her name, but yeah, we can call her Pearl. Why not?
She's Pearl, though.
Okay.
So alright, so Pearl, I was like, what would happen in a good show? We have clearly established that Snapdragon now has connection with the main cast. Positive one. She loses that connection to Snapdragon. I was like, alright, so she's losing that connection, she is abdicated from the main community, and nobody likes her. I think they're setting her up as the secret bad guy later. And then she starts building those connections, and I'm like, oh, maybe there's something that turns up in her from her past that makes her betray them. And then there's some drama there, right? And no, she's just that. It's just boring. Nothing happens there.
Thupa, for that to work, these characters would have had to suffer actual tragedy in their lives.
But the reason I started to think along that way was because in the beginning of the show, we have this black silhouette of two characters, and it's clearly a pair of characters that know each other. Well, this was clear for me. And so I was like, oh, so we get like a duo and a duo of characters in the main cast that we are aware of that can kind of fit into that category are Snapdragon and Pearl.
Yes.
So I really try to hammer a triangle into a square hole.
but enough about gender.
But enough about lesbian couples.
Enough about lesbianism. Fucking god. Yeah, no. Yeah, there were no villains.
Oh, right. So
The villain
the
was a
bad
cloud
guy,
of smoke.
he was not only cloud of smoke, he was so comically evil. He was like, I'm gonna kill everybody. I'm gonna stab them and I'm gonna shoot them and then I'm gonna shut down their mouth when they're dead.
Yeah, that would have worked a lot better if you'd established these characters as likable in general. It's like, oh, I'm gonna shoot up this school. Awesome, I'm rooting for
We
this
don't
guy.
care about anybody, and then he just comes out and he's like, all right, I'm gonna kill everybody. I'm gonna stab everybody. All right,
like,
I can't stab
no,
everybody.
you can't
so I'm
destroy-
gonna close them in the room and burn them alive. Oh, I can't do that. So I'm gonna stab them with magical burning swords then, and then I'm gonna slit their throats.
And we're so upset when he says that because it's like, no, you can't destroy High Guardian Spice Academy. There'll be no guardians who will collect sinecures from the feudal lord as they sit around and think about how great they are.
They will sit around and learn calligraphy.
Yeah, who's going to waste taxpayer money on giant mechanical golems for the obstacle course that they just hit with a hammer once and they fucking puff into smoke?
Who's going to train in all of those dojos?
Yeah, who's going to use valuable farmland to build a giant monument to how safe the society is?
Actually, this is not anime. We shouldn't talk about samurai.
Yeah.
Who's
no.
going to train all of those squires?
Yeah, the medieval knights with chivalry. Actually, you know what? There is kind of a chivalry thing going on, where like a lot of characters like
Is there?
like I mean, okay, a little bit. I mean, there is a bit of a courtly love thing going on, where a lot of characters just
Is there?
just yearn after each other from a distance and don't really do anything.
It's just teen angst, I thought.
Oh yeah, teen angst. I fucking said that. This show would be so much better if any character had suffered actual hardship at some point in their life.
Well, you don't understand, but the black girl had to leave her father, and she didn't want to.
I jumped out
She
a
wanted to
fucking
help
window when I
trees.
turned 18 and ran away from my father.
I did that when I was 7.
Oh, yes. This was a fucking thing this was the big
And
thing
when I
with-
was 13, I was literally stood out of my house and told to fuck off. And I did. For a week.
Yeah. Thupa was so cool.
I wasn't cool. I was poor.
Yeah, this was the problem with the show. Or we were doing this the whole time with the show. Me and you were just trading stories about how our actual lives as normal, non-magical people are way more interesting and have featured way more challenges than the people in the show. Half the characters are fucking angsting about like, oh, my life is so hard. It's like, no, it's not. Your life is not hard at all.
Well, eating magical pancakes and bread that's just cut out PNG.
Oh yeah, my lesbian magical elf aunts gave me cookies, only 3 out of 7 days last week. That's fucking, life is so hard,
Life is so hard.
Yeah,
I have to do magic, which doesn't require any rules.
Yeah.
No.
Oh no,
Also-
I can satisfy
Look.
my sexual urges by breaking the conservation of energy. Damn, life sure is hard.
Was actually very surprised that you weren't more pissed about that, by the way. Because
About
both
the new
of
magic
us,
thing?
yeah, both of us listened to Brandon Sanderson's lectures on writing, right?
Yeah.
And one of the lectures is about a magic system, because in Stormlight Archive, and before that in The Wheel of Time, because he finished that series, he works with both hard magic system and soft magic system. And hard magic system implies that there are very strict, understandable rules that a reader can follow, and thus when those rules are bent or broken or adjusted in some manner, it can result in story conflict or push the story along, or there's more to it. It's something that we can anticipate, right?
Yeah.
It can be used for dramatic purposes.
Yeah.
And we have that here, but it's not used in any way. It's not explained. We don't know the rules. We don't know anything. It just kind of goes with D&D 5th edition, how they have hard magic rules in that you have to cast a thing for a certain amount of time. There's a somatic whatever and a whatever component. I forgot their names in English. But you basically need physical components for a thing. You need to make the audible things. You need to chant, whatever. And there needs to be time spent on making a thing. And that's the hard rules. We don't know anything else about the hard magic system. No rules are explained. And the soft magic system, we know even less. Because all they tell is that you just make things happen with soft magic system.
This is actually a huge fucking problem in the show. This is probably the most underused element of anything. It's also the point where they most blatantly rip off My Little Witch Academia, but, that's a separate issue. They have 2 magic systems, and they don't really fucking explain them. They're just like, oh yeah, there's old magic, which it's implied that old magic forces you to go run errands for it if you want it to work. It's like, oh, go plant 20 trees and I'll let you grow a loaf of bread. Okay. And old magic, from the beginning, is only practiced by old fuddy-duddies out in the country who just like to moralize at people and complain about nothing. Like, they're just idiots.
Like fucking Baba Yagas and fucking medieval witches.
Yeah, Baba Yaga. There's a nice Russian reference there. If only there was an American witch. Fuck.
Hillary Clinton.
Okay. Very, very, very timely, Thupa. See, we killed our witches. And the fucking their grandchildren that we didn't burn started making children shows for Crunchyroll. But the fucking...
It was all political propaganda, no!
Yeah, no. Yeah, fucking Salem should be the real capital. But they introduce old and new magic, and they give an extremely poor explanation of the difference. It's just implied that old magic makes you do more and is constrained, and then new magic, you wave your arm around and shit happens. It's very...
Yeah, that's literally all they say about new magic.
They don't...
You wave your arms around and shit happens.
Yeah.
You get wings, butterflies, and shit, and stuff explodes, and you petrify an entire city.
Yeah, one of the first episodes is... Parsley, not Parsley. One of the first episodes is the little witch girl from the country, Sage. She walks into class and she's like, my mom says that old magic makes you a better person and you have to do it that way. And, she'd be really mad. And there was a whole subplot of the lesbian ant people giving her a wand to do new magic with, and she's very uncomfortable. And they show her a photo album and she's like, hey, your mom used to do new magic all the time. She's a lying bitch. Don't listen to her. Just hang out with us and, do whatever. And she eventually warms up. And one of the first episodes...
They treat new magic like crack.
Yeah. Like
and it annoys me.
It's like vague hippie shit, where they treat it the way you would treat a drug, or you would treat like a taboo sexual behavior, or just vague hippie shit is the best way to put it. But one of the first episodes, Sage sits down and is like, yeah, old magic. My mom said it's better. And the fucking teacher, the old bitch teacher who poisoned them, goes on this fucking spiel where she's waving her wand around, being like, new magic is objectively better in every way. It's just,
it's so fantastic, you have to do nothing.
Yeah, it just
works.
And
she explains, she goes on for like a solid minute, maybe more than that, and explains nothing. She says nothing.
The only thing we learn is, new magic is just easier and quicker. It's just objectively better. There's no downsides to new magic. It's just like old magic, except it's better. That's the whole thing. She literally she puts on like a little play almost, flying around the room with wings, like chanting the benefits of new magic. And we never
the problem is she isn't chanting, she's doing anything. It just happens.
Yeah,
and that's what she says. It just happens.
I mean, she's like propagandizing the kids of like, if you don't like new magic, that makes you're just dumb. You're just stupid.
Oh, right.
Just go away. If you don't like new magic, you're just a Luddite that doesn't understand what good stuff is. Then
it's very important to mention here that Pearl, the ambiguous girl, whatever her name is, actually, she gets a good burn in, and we're left at that.
Yes, that's also good. There were a few good insults.
That's very important to mention.
See, it's fun when people hurt the characters because they're boring. But you see,
the best kind of humor is when it's boring like a plank. It's somebody getting hit with said plank.
Yeah, exactly. And the plank is Plank from Ed, Ed, and Eddie. From Johnny.
See, it all comes around.
It all comes around. But, yeah, and then I have to fucking tell people. Then, like, there's 9 more episodes, and nobody ever explains why anyone would ever use old magic when new magic is so much better. And the teachers in particular have just been, just use new magic. Fuck those old fucking Puritans. Who gives a shit? Then you get to the one good episode of the show, where they go to do a weird ecological mission. They turn into mermaids, go hang out with the mermaids. They're trying to capture a sea dragon creature and put it back in its cage. Fucking Sage uses her wand that the lesbian aunts gave to her with the cookies and said, oh yeah, your mom's an idiot, just use this. It fucking goes out of control. She shoots a laser beam that slices a big fucking gash in the middle of the sea dragon's heart. And there's a whole scene where it bleeds out on the fucking beach. And the main character has to fucking kill it by stabbing it in the neck with her sword to mercy kill it. Which I think they should have used a hammer. Yeah, I think they should have had Parsley use the hammer. I think that would have been funnier, but... And that was like the one good moment in the whole show. Like, it was the only episode with real stakes where Sage... Where Sage finally gets her comeuppance for listening to everyone around her and disregarding, how old magic makes you responsible or whatever. And the fucking old bitch from the school, the person who in episode 3 was flying around with butterfly wings saying that if you don't like new magic, you're a fucking square. She walks up and she's all somberly going, oh yes, new magic, it's very powerful, but it's hard to control, it's very easy to hurt people.
That it's hard to control.
Like, she's the one who did this. She's the one who fucking told everyone new magic is just better, just use it. It's her fault.
Not only did she do that, she didn't explain to anybody that it was even hard to control in the first place.
Yeah, she didn't say any of that. She just said use it, who gives a fuck?
In fact, the entire anime didn't show us that it was hard to control. We just knew that one character had troubles with it because they're set in their ways that are kind of opposite that.
Yeah, it was such a fuck you, where the character who gave the speech establishing that new magic is just better is also the character who comes up and tries to have this somber moment of like, you have to be responsible because, power is dangerous. It's like, oh, shut the fuck up, you bitch.
That scene was inept.
Yeah, it was just literally have anyone else do it. Have the fucking transgender professor who is also there and is obviously smarter. Like, have him be the one who gives the fucking speech, not the person who caused the problem in the first place.
Have a different person kill it.
Have her die.
Show us.
Have Sage cut her fucking heart open.
In fact, have us one professor kill another professor, because the new magic goes out of control, because even the experienced people sometimes can't control it.
Yeah, that was such a weird moment.
Make it like a wild magic. Make it very easy to tap into, but it's dangerous because sometimes it just goes apeshit.
If the whole concept of the show is going to be about, control and responsibility versus, easy power that you have to be less responsible with, if that's going to be the whole fucking, thematic overhang of the show, how about you don't spend the first 2/3 of the show completely undercutting that message by lying to us?
And it's also not going to be that. We know that. You know why? Because they mix the two magics. That I think that's just the purpose of both of them, is just so they can be mixed later on.
Yeah, but that seems like something that should have been figured out several hundred years ago, and they should teach the kids that on day one.
Yes.
And this is the whole subtext running through the show, which will eventually lead to the Snapdragon thing. There's this really fucking ominous. Hey, the garbage truck's outside. Look at that. I should throw the show into it. Ha 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 ha. But there's this really ominous fucking thread running through the entire show of none of the adults in any of the children's lives are ever really a good influence on them.
They aren't ever present or competent.
Children being thrown to the wolves, surrounded by authority figures who, from the children's perspective, have their best interests at heart, but are really just fucking incompetent boobs that are self-obsessed and not paying attention. It's not equally bad in every case, but I don't know. With this show, I keep reading into the psychology of the people who made it, trying to figure out what's going on here deeper. This show is a level of Psychonauts. You're getting little Freudian slips looking into the minds of the fucking production staff. If you're going to a school with magic and magic is dangerous, you would think it would be day one, they give you a big speech about, hey, everyone, this is dangerous, so we're going to learn safety first. We're going to learn defensive measures. We're going to learn how to draw little circles so a demon doesn't, eat you. We're going to do all this fucking shit. We're going to learn old magic.
There are demons in this world, apparently.
Yeah, we just
learned about this randomly.
Yeah, one's
They're
a
all
teacher.
In this one game.
I said that as a joke with old bitch, but there is a devil teacher who teaches ethics, which is another weird thing. It's there's no morality in this world. There's ethics. It's one of those places.
It's a funny joke I think they tried to pull, but it's
thinking that would be funny, that would make us racist.
The demon teaches ethics?
She's like a tiefling. But
she is a tiefling. She's not a demon. Fucking hell.
Yeah, but you would think that
They've just played D&D in the writer's room.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Oh God.
That's what they've been paid to do for 4 years. And then they just took the parts of the campaign that they thought were funny, uploaded them in the form of a video essay, and thought that we would like them without having context for their entire adventure.
I'm sure they had fun. If you were going to do this magic school thing and have this lesson about responsibility, you would think it would be okay, first 2 years is nothing but old magic. You learn how to not blow shit up. You learn how to not kill sea dragon monsters. You learn how to be a good person.
You know how to be responsible with magic because you actually need to fucking gather components, wiggle your hands around, and
exactly.
Some fucking chance.
You teach them values and shit. Then it's okay, then when you're an upperclassman, we start teaching you new magic, and that's what you're really going to use out in the real world most of the time, but you'll understand the fundamentals and how to be safe with them.
You need calculus to use a computer, yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's, we teach you your times tables first and then that. But no, the school is just this libertine environment of, do whatever you want. Even the first day on the fucking, in the school, they have them read their guardian pledges. They have them come up with their little ethos of what it means to be a guardian. And that itself is so subversive because it's you're going into a hierarchical institution that is there to serve a role and teach you stuff. And the people
you
there
don't know what's your role or what you need to be taught.
Yeah, but the people there don't even try to tell you what's important. It's just just you're given to your base instincts. Just whatever you feel in the moment as a child showing up at this world of danger. That's right. Just we're going to lock that in as your path in life forever. Just whatever you feel as a naive idiot who was raised by your absentee parents who were too busy baking bread to look for their missing wife.
Oh
and,
my
and
god!
you're
right.
fighting parent. Like the school is this really. It's I said libertine. It's this fucking environment that like lures children in and just like locks them into ways of thinking that has no maturity. Like they don't help
What was
you
it,
grow
like-
up. They just like they just take your emotional state and turn it into a life path. And the fact that the Guardians serve no apparent purpose, like it just there are just layers and layers of like the school just makes you a bad person.
Like, I want to reinforce your idea because I don't know what it's called, like fine arts or libertarian arts or whatever the fuck the diploma is called in English. But anyway, like they have this fucking just like an assignment that they need to do. I think every day, maybe like fucking for like an hour. Like they have like a free hour where they need to like come up with their own routine and practice it, and it helps them become a better guardian. And it's like dancing, singing, fucking sword practice, like it's just anything.
Yeah.
Like they essentially need to form like their own clubs and shit.
And-
but like there's no like requirement to form any kind of organization or
And-
anything. You just need to figure out something to do for an hour and do that, and then you're going to somehow be tested on that.
Yeah, it's the fucking. It's such a. It's such a strange thing, and I don't know.
Nothing is explained
There's such a
to
weird.
anybody, not
and
even the children.
And there's such a weird subtext to the whole situation where like there's this nihilism surrounding being a guardian, where like kids are going
What
there
nihilism?
because I don't know. Or in,
What-
in terms of like
nihilism?
not fucking like Johan burning down the fucking library nihilism, but like the
Nihilism requires neglect of rules, intentional. Like nihilism, in it by its own nature, is denial of a fact of a state of something. Like there's no state established. There's nothing to deny. There's nothing to be nihilistic about.
and the
We
fucking
don't know anything.
and there's
They don't know anything.
They don't. There's this subtext of you're an unformed child. You go to an institution that you want to, help make you become a better person or something, but they don't actually teach you anything. Like they make you better with weapons or whatever, but you go there expecting guidance from, the people who should be your guardians, I guess. Ha ha ha. It's like they go there expecting instruction and diligence and being told useful information, but they're just given this kind of little carnival environment of, just let it all hang out, man, shit'll work out. Then they encounter reality and it's like, oh fuck, you just fucking killed a magical beast that was beautiful and you were here to help it, fucking cope,
If
deal with
only
it.
somebody told you how to handle the things.
If only the adults in my life had, if only the adults in my life had not spent 100% of their interactions with me encouraging me to just be irresponsible and do whatever.
Fucking hell. Now it makes me angry.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And you know what? It's this fucking, the writer's room of, the purple-haired women. A lot of those people probably went to college, or they probably went to some art school, and they probably
think that that's the thing you were doing before. You were like, I just can't help but judge the people who made this instead of the show on its own merits.
Well, yeah, the show, I feel like the show, and there are multiple self-inserts in the show. Like, people have been caught creating characters who look like them. The main showrunner, Ray Rodriguez, or whatever their name is, I don't actually know that much. Like, they're a trans person, and they voice the trans professor guy. Like, there's multiple really...
Really?
There are multiple obvious self-inserts in this show. And the show was very moralistic when they made it. Like, it's fair to judge them that way when they were on screen, like, saying, like, yeah, this show is an expression of our values and worldview. It's like, well, okay. I feel like a lot of these people probably went to a fine art school. And, maybe they were given a lot of free time and, they were told to, stack beer cans on top of marshmallows and, write a little essay explaining why it's a profound critique of society to put on the wall next to it. And maybe they got out
through a field of mushrooms
Yes.
and tell me how you feel.
Well, that's Okay, let's not drag mushrooms into this, Thupa. But the
Let's not besmirch something that's actually good.
yes, let us not tarnish the sacred. But maybe these people spent 4 years getting a degree where they faced very little criticism and had a really libertine environment. And maybe they came out and, started making shows and started sending apps out. And maybe all these people on the internet who actually developed skills and actually, can draw and can write and were in harsh environments that helped them grow for several years, maybe they're a lot better. And those people are making fun of the show that, is an expression of their truth. Maybe that happened.
It's this joke about, like, fucking Twitter artists all over again.
Yeah, what one would that be?
Well, the thing is, like, people constantly, like, say that if you're a Twitter artist, you're not an artist because your art is shit. But there are so many Twitter artists that are genuinely fucking good.
Yeah, and that's part of this whole thing where, like, the art institutions have been in a state of crisis for fucking decades now, where for a long time, Richard Williams, the guy who wrote the Animator's Handbook?
No.
Okay, or no, the Animator's Survival Kit. He wrote a book which is the fucking book for people learning about animation and has been for a long time. The book's pretty old, and a thing about Williams, he just died, which was unfortunate. He did The Thief and the Cobbler. He was the guy who did that, and it famously collapsed on him, and he never got over it. But, yeah, an interesting thing about him is he was in the generation right after the people who really built Disney up in the 30s and 40s and 50s. So he got to hang out and apprentice under basically the people who invented animation. Like the best animators.
I think that would be fair to say.
Yeah, like the best, or at least animation in terms of like high quality stuff, not like,
high quality hand drawn animation.
Yeah, not just spinning the little wheel and the horse gallops in front of you, although that's cool in its own way. He talked about how when they started, all of the people working in animation were brilliant, classically trained draftsmen. They weren't just good animators. You could put them in front of a landscape and they would draw you just a gorgeous little painting or something. They would draw you a painting. They would. A
happy little tree.
Yeah, but they were extremely talented people on the technical side. And even back when he wrote that, he was decrying, saying, over the generations, talented draftsmen get harder and harder to find because schools focus more and more on the expression side or the production side. There are lower and lower standards of what counts as a talented, trained artist. And animation is making it worse because people keep thinking they can get right into animation without learning how to draw first. Which, that's not how that works. You have to know how to fucking draw if you want to learn how to animate.
If you're animating, you're drawing the same thing repeatedly.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's what animation is.
And, even he was decrying how the increase in production methods are slowly going down. And a lot of people said this. Like, it was a general sentiment about art schools for a long time. And the situation in art schools never really got better because art schools stopped being about art to some extent, and there's more of them than we need. But then you have the internet, where the internet just kind of swept in and picked up all the slack, where people who really want to learn how to draw for real, they can always find teachers and fellows and mentors and all that, and really develop skills. Like, there's tons of little communities that will teach you how to fucking draw if you want to learn how to draw. And so
another thing is, you always have a certain level of encouragement from other people because you find like people who inspire you. And then those people start following you and commenting on your shit, and they're like, you're doing a good job and giving you suggestions how to do stuff.
Yeah, like fucking...
And you form these cliques with people who are good, and you improve together, and it's like this cooperative little thing, and I love it.
And one good thing about like Twitter art, for example, is Twitter artists are not mean. Like, they're not critical, but also on Twitter, you get really honest feedback about your flaws and like whether or not you're improving and what you need to work on. It's an environment that can be both nurturing and actually is real with you about you getting better. And
to say there are some bad apples and really bad artists there. There are plenty.
Yeah. I'm trying not to trying not to make jokes. I wasn't sure if I was going to joke about me or someone else, and then I just gave up.
Were you talking about me?
No, I'm not, no, no, I'm not talking. I'm not talking about you. Michi actually has this relationship with me because once every 3 months I decide I want to draw a little bit, and Michi will be nice, but he's also very open about the fact that I suck, which is what you need. And with something like High Guardian Spice, it almost mirrors the situation with like the creative institutions, where like there are still some schools where, you know, people are doing good work and there's talented people and all that. But to a large extent, institutions have kind of sagged and become peripheral in like the training of artists, and they kind of know that, and they're surrounded by just fucking people. And I can't help but look at High Guardian Academy as like fucking, yeah, just fucking behave randomly, and I'm sure things will work out eventually. I can't help but notice that as like a little bit of like the path that a lot of the creatives on the staff probably took.
Fuck.
Yeah, and also the meme of, yeah, we're a very diverse writer's room. Like, that meme is usually spread by people who are very into the credentialist, people who still put stock in paper degrees and try to use those to network. Those tend to go together, so that's probably an advertisement that a lot of those...
paper degrees?
What?
I put stock in paper degrees. I have a couple.
Yeah, I have one too. I think I threw it. I think it's propping up the leg of my desk or some shit.
I'm a specialist in radio engineering.
Yeah. Well, no, Thupa, you're here's the thing. You're a useful
technology.
Thupa,
Bachelor's.
Thupa, like, you're an underutilized member of society. You actually have skills and talents that add value to the world.
I was far too overutilized for too many years.
Okay.
I deserve a little break.
Okay, fucking Thupa. But yeah, Thupa, you actually have skills, though. Your degree corresponds to ability and talent and usefulness. I have a
it just corresponds to the fact that I know how to talk to people.
Yeah, okay.
Like, legit, I've passed 3 consecutive physics exams without actually knowing any physics.
Okay, Thupa, you're kind of undercutting my point about how... Okay, you know what? Fuck you too. Degrees are fucking stupid. But, you know, okay, you're now getting lumped into this. Our degrees, you know, don't necessarily indicate actual ability. Like, I have a generic history degree. You could find... And I have some skills. Like, I'm a pretty good writer, whatever. You could fucking find anyone who has my degree... And the chances of them being a good writer are only slightly higher than just like a person picked at random. Like, it doesn't matter. And I could have probably developed that on the internet without going to college. So okay, this is not why, I don't know why I'm talking about this now. But the point is that I think the life path of several of the people making the show probably shows up in like the core conceit of what High Guardian Academy is, which is frustrating. Okay, I'm done. Oh yeah, but the point of that was all the adults in these kids' lives just are not giving them any
bolo.
Yeah, they're not giving them any structure or giving a shit or direction in life. And there's no direction with the Guardians in general. Like, no one knows what these people do.
Nobody knows what they're supposed to do in this entire show.
How hard would it have been to have episode 1 be like, oh, when I was a little kid, the fucking rape trolls came rumbling down the mountain and the Guardians fucked them up, and I didn't get carried off and put in the slave mines. Hell yeah, Guardians, I want to be a Guardian when I grow up. But it's just like, oh, I was a kid. Oh, my mother walked out in the field and she disappeared into smoke, but that was a dream. I guess she's just gone. Yeah, I'll be a Guardian. I want to disappear someday. Maybe it's a metaphor for suicide.
Trolls?
Okay, stop with
over the hills.
stop with the rape trolls, Thupa.
I can't.
I love how you don't laugh at my actual
my
jokes,
mind.
but you put the word rape in front of a noun, and that's the funniest thing to you.
So so
Like-
serenely stupid.
And this is part of the thing with the show is it's almost a world without conflict, where the conflict tends to be really dumb. It's either very petty personal issues, or it's a smoke monster that is nebulously evil in a way that doesn't make any fucking sense. It's
Oh my god, right. Who is the bad evil guy in this? Big bad evil guy is the corporations.
yeah. I
Holy
guess.
Literally. Like in the very end, they're like, who guides the which city where the bad shit apparently is? The corporations. And then in the end, there's like a board meeting in front of like a dark night. And they're like, the corporations are leading everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy
The corporations, man.
shit. Oh,
You know, I mean,
God,
because High
that-
Guardians Academy is a completely unaccountable institution with nebulous funding, but that's okay because they have pretty colors and people wear robes. But the fucking, yeah, oh god, but yeah, the big problem in the show is the total absence of conflict and how conflict just doesn't fucking intertwine into anything that happens, and that means there's no stakes. The Guardians
When
are
it happens at random.
yeah, the Guardians are ostensibly some kind of paramilitary group or some sort of public institution that implies that there's conflict going on somewhere that they're supposed to be involved with, but from what we see, they just run errands that are vaguely dangerous for people in the area. That's not worth having a giant fucking castle.
You know what they do? They go on adventures, or I suppose I should say on quests, like they do in D&D.
Maybe, but for that to make
It's my
sense,
new running theory.
but for that to make sense, they would have to get rewards. Like, are they plundering? Are they taking pillage from the people they quest against?
No, they just kill a thing and it drops loot.
Does the government pay them? Yeah, are they just
No,
are they just murderers?
they just I assume they're just kind of yeah, they're just bums that go around killing shit.
Yeah, they're
for
murder hobos.
glory and loot.
The Guardians are all chaotic evil, and the Academy is just there so they don't realize it. Where they
No, at
ease
least
you
one
into
of them
it.
is lawful stupid.
Oh god. Okay, Thupa, I don't know. I'm hitting an impasse. Maybe we should bring up the social justice warrior stuff, because that kind of segs into the irresponsible adult thing.
What social stuff? Tell me. I'm not quite catching your drift there.
Like the politics and like the social progressivism of the show. The stuff that people thought the show was going to be about before it came out.
Well, wasn't it about it?
No, not really. And that was one of the most surprising things. Where when the show dropped, because they were like, oh, look at all the women in our writers' rooms. Like, oh, we love people of color. Yay. They were saying stuff like
Right.
that. And so everyone thought, oh, this show's going to be dripping with political subtext and all sorts of progressive memes and shit like that. And it really wasn't. People thought the show was going to be that. It's in there. It colors it. It's more an aesthetic than anything else, though. It's not like the show is that fucking politically motivated at the end of the day.
It's usually kind of in the background, yeah, but they do lean into it pretty heavily and heavy-handedly.
At a few points, but not nearly as often as you would think, which surprised me.
I think the one time they did it right was with the Snapdragon.
I think that was the one place that it really fucked up. Or, well, kind of. Here's the thing, like, Snap himself... Oh, and I just want to fucking say this. Everyone is, like, jumping the gun. Like, oh, you call Snapdragon a she. It's like, hey, did the character change their gender? Did the character change their pronouns? No, they didn't, so shut the fuck up. See, I'm actually paying attention to the show. I'm not projecting stuff on it. I make sense.
Someone jumps into somebody's fucking hair about a pronoun of a character that hasn't even chosen one yet?
It's that, well, the fucking plebs out there have been showing how cool and hip they are by referring to Snap as a she, where I'm, who is actually the coolest and hipper, is, I'm actually paying attention because they haven't done that. Yeah. See,
I was wearing a fedora before you were even born.
I'm so not a social justice warrior. I wrap around to being the greatest one of all time.
That's how you're the number one fan.
Yeah, that's how I'm the number one fan.
You care just that little.
Yep. The
Ouroboros.
I will say this. They were not subtle about the fact they were going to do some gender stuff with Snap. I don't mind that. And they laid into it, but most of the time, Snap makes sense as a character. Like, it's fine. It's like, oh, Snap is staring at girls longingly and making comments about how pretty they are. It's like, oh, gee, I wonder where this is going. But once it actually gets going, it doesn't come off as preachy most of the time. And I actually found it clever. What?
It just kind of makes sense, yeah.
You can definitely tell that the people writing the show have an agenda, but this is a believable enough story of this type. It's not like a morality play, at least at the beginning. Yeah, but Snap's little arc was interesting because Snap having his little sexual awakening, gender awakening, whatever moment, that is the only point in the show where real conflict that is tied into the emotions of the characters comes in. Because when there's external conflict, it almost feels like an afterthought, and we know they're going to win, so no one gives a shit. But Snap kind of coming online and getting a little more proactive with how they are in life, that was the one point where the social status of the group got a little disrupted. And because the show is centered so much on relationships, and that's where all the drama is, that's when the show actually started getting a little bit good. Like Snap cross-dressing at the costume party, and that causing like a sexual awakening in Sage, who like suddenly realizes they're attracted to Snap. Like, that was actually funny, and that was a clever little way to get the ball rolling on that.
Kind of hint to us that she might be lesbian.
Yeah, and it also introduces ambiguity in, oh, is Sage a lesbian? Is Sage into Rosemary? Is there going to be some drama there? I just find it funny that Snap, dressing like a fucking mermaid or whatever the fuck he did, like, set this little ball rolling down a hill that's causing a domino effect that's just ruining everyone's relationship.
Also, not really. I liked the scene where the guy in the suit tries to hit on him. And then it's like...
yeah, we've all been
he's
there.
Like, what the fuck? Why are you cross-dressing? She gets told off by Pearl, and then she's like... She says the thing about his costume in a very, like, human manner, where it's like... I would say it's something like that. Well, so it made sense to me. Well, it was like... It phrased in a very particular manner. It was like, yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Well, yeah, Snap cross-dressing at the party.
What the fuck is he wearing? A suit?
Yeah.
Who is he to say anything about your costume?
Yeah. Snap dressing like that in that moment, it sets off like 3 little parallel streams of dominoes where, we now have Snap's relationship with Sage. We now have Sage being, homoerotic, which brings up questions about her and Rosemary, the main character with the pink hair. And we also have Snap getting more confident in social situations where he is kind of the toady to Pearl, or, Purple Girl. And he gets a little bolder. He has more social...
As Miranda.
Yeah, he has more... Okay.
Azathoth.
Yes. But he starts getting a little bolder socially, where he's more confident, he's hanging out with more people. He has people he can talk to other than just Pearl. And so Pearl, who actually kind of likes having Snap as a friend, but treats them like garbage... she realizes, oh, there's some competition for Snap's affection. I might have to grow up a little bit and stop treating them like crap if I want them to hang around and still, have little bitch sessions with me. There are some real stakes here. And
I just want to say that in that particular episode, I want to send a very personal fuck you to whoever came up with that video game. Because, once again, they're video games, but they're not explained. It's not virtual reality. It's not augmented reality. It's something in between. It's just fuck.
it is really fucking it is really funny.
Tell me about your world.
It is really funny that in a world with fucking magic, they just put fucking goggles on people and have them wander around a physical space, almost crashing into other people constantly. Like, that's the best they can do.
Fuck hell.
They really underutilized the everything in this show, but that was a funny instance. Although it was kind of a funny bit where that's the episode where everyone gets turned to stone. So Snap and Pearl are wandering around with their arms in front of them like assholes, like, and everyone else has to worry about them knocking the stone people over and breaking them, which is funny.
If we're talking about the stone people episode, we have to bring up the fight on the roof, because that got us real angry.
Oh, where they spend like 10 minutes having one scene of people awkwardly staring at each other when anyone moving their arms or legs would have probably resolved the conflict.
Where we have been shown that the situation can be solved in so many ways before, that these people have the capacity to jump off the fucking roof. They do that later, after that very scene, and suffer no damage. It doesn't even slow them down, really.
Yeah.
But they just don't do that in that scene because, ooh.
Yeah, the action scenes in this fucking show are a weird thing in themselves because it's often more than you would expect. From, a generic Western show that was made very, very cheaply, they throw in a little animation here and there and some choreography that it's more than you would have thought you would have get. And I kind of appreciate that. But they don't have
somehow they interject just cheapness into it.
But they don't have the skills to do it.
Basic camera mistakes.
Yeah, speaking of camera mistakes, it was really funny. This show was not good. So while we were watching it, you had to come up with your own mini games to play to, keep things interesting. My favorite one was trying to sing the lyrics to the ending song despite not knowing them. You just kind of say whatever is happening on screen, but then at the end you go, "I will be your guardian," and Thupa loves it every single time.
I skipped every opening and fucking every ending, and the one that I didn't haunts me in my nightmares.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was also funny. The guy who posted that online titled it "Generic Ass Ending Theme." And that made me laugh because the thing is, the opening and ending, they just describe the show. Or not even the show, what the show is supposed to be. So when you listen to it, it's like, yay, we're gonna have fun and go on adventures and we're gonna be friends and lesbians.
Oh my god.
And it's literally the blueprint for what the show is supposed to be. They just say it with still images scrolling across the background. Yes?
Maybe I don't know anything about magic or what guardians are or supposed to be doing in this world because they just explain it in the OP or in the
that would have. I will say having a Lord of the Rings style info dump would have made this way better because we would actually have context to fucking understand shit.
Just suck it up. You're a bad show. Set them up in a cafe and just have them talk to each other.
Yeah, that's another thing
Exposition.
About this. Like, the show...
You don't know how to do it better. Just don't.
Yeah, watch Sword Art Online. The best anime ever made. Maybe Orimo's better. But, mostly Sword Art Online.
I don't know how ironic you were in any of those statements.
Neither do I.
There was irony there, but I genuinely don't know where it begins and ends with those sentences.
Yeah, the fucking
and that scares me.
You should be afraid. I will say, I'll give the show credit for this. When people are talking, they usually are doing something else as well. And at the very Or hello?
No, they aren't.
Or they're very, in terms of, they don't do the Family Guy thing. They don't just stand still and not move at all and say
Yes,
their
they
words. But it's really not that bad. And like, if you watch, they throw in little arm movements and people change poses and stuff. Like, compared to what they could, compared to what they could have done, like, it's not a fucking screenshot with a JPEG of the mouth moving while they stare at each other. Like,
all right, that's fair.
Like,
that's
they avoid having literally still screens, which for how cheap this show was, I was expecting more of that.
What I was more so thinking about, doing something meaningful.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if well, you know what? Let's go to Kino's journey. All right, Kino's journey was great.
Okay, don't restate the entire show, but yes, Kino's journey was great.
Well, we talked a lot about the editor castle, right? You recall that episode?
Yes.
So what happens in it is there's not a lot of talking, but when they do talk, they show you the scene around them. They don't focus on the characters, they focus on the story building. Like, for example, they go into a library and Kino is talking to a librarian, but they're not focusing on the conversation between the two of them, they're focusing on the books behind them.
Thuba,
which are the focus of the dialogue.
I'm sorry, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in just a few minutes here.
Don't shit yourself. There is effort there. I have to acknowledge that much. That during the conversation, the characters will move, they will animate, they will walk around, there will be hand gestures, they will be eating. There's something going on there for you to not be completely bored out of your mind. But there's no substance to their movement. It is just there because the show is confused at who it is aimed for. It is there and it acts like it is a show based for children. Because we need flashy shit. We need movement. We need action to happen on the screen for children to pay attention to our dialogue, like the sweet thing with the pill. But the sweet thing is fucking a cheap store garbage. Like, it's like a cube of sugar. It's not even a cube. It's not even raffinated. It's just like fucking just some sugar in a teaspoon with a pill that's just that's fucking essential oils. It's a teaspoon of bland sugar that's got a little salt in it to help the essential oils go down on your skin. There's no substance to anything. That's what's bad about it. If they accentuated on something, the show could have been, well, not salvaged, but it would have been more memorable. But instead, we got what we got. Fucking nothing. And I'm annoyed about it now. I think I might bump the show down to a 4 from a 5. I think it's notably bad enough under consideration. And mostly about the potential that it has but does not utilize. And even the potential, like, it's hard to talk about it because, once again, the show explains fucking nothing. It has ideas, but that's what they remain. Ideas. They're not explained, they're not exasperated, I tried to catch on to something and I got nothing. And now I'm getting distracted. Oh, God. You know what's good, though? Fucking mobile gachas. I've been caught onto this bug. It's back with me. And thankfully it's not Genshin again, because I want to say fuck Genshin freely. I'm gonna say something very controversial about Genshin as well. The women in that gacha, not good. Fucking boring. nearly all of them.
But what the fuck are you talking about?
Genshin Impact?
Is this related to High Guardian Spice?
No, I just went with what with the tide.
Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna, fade out and fade in and make that a joke. Yeah.
Put Ren and Stimpy sounds on it. Make me Haynes.
Make you Haynes. Well, at least Haynes had permission to do that. You were just being fucking. You were just talking while I'm in the bathroom. Okay.
I was trying to feel time.
Yeah. Well, or you could have just waited for me to come back. It's not a live show, Thupa.
You underestimate my capacity to be derailed.
I couldn't. Or wait, what? Okay. The fucking, what were we even talking about before I left?
That's a good question.
Oh, right. We were talking mini games. The other mini game was to point out all the frames that in an actual anime would have been panty shots.
I'm trying to think of panty shots in this anime now.
You were bringing up the fight with the cat girl on the ceiling. There was a whole
Right.
She's wearing a poofy knee-length skirt that kept
and it's never a panty shot.
that kept flying around, and I kept thinking, if Go Nagai made this, this would be a very different scene right now. And I found it.
If this was Kill la Kill.
Yeah, and I found it very funny.
If this was Kill la Kill, they wouldn't even have to change the animation.
In Kill la Kill, they would just be naked. They wouldn't even have to. They wouldn't even have. Fuck. Yeah, that's clever. But
they could do the goofy 3D walk. They could do the just cardboard cutout flying around the screen.
Yeah, I did find it a little funny though, where they gave her this frilly skirt thing, and then they have her jump around. In order to keep things, PG, they almost had to turn her skirt into this Lovecraftian fabric that just fluffs around and gets new layers as it moves, and it would actually be funny if you learned there was a magical spell that kept her skirt down.
It's reverse Aqua.
Yeah, it's literally that. That would have been fucking funny. It defies geometry, how it always covers her, no matter where she goes. Yeah, I was getting a little.
Yeah.
I was getting a little bored by
And
this point in the show.
the reason she doesn't win in a fight with them is because she has to move around, so she has to concentrate on that magic spell, so that it always covers her body.
Yeah, it's you could just wear pants.
And be much more effective in every kind of combat.
Wear lederhosen.
Instead, she chooses a freely goal.
Like the dwarf girl.
Freely. Dwarf Girl just gets frozen for an episode, and she's not around, and it's worse for it.
Yeah, it sucks. That's one episode that really could have used her. Parsley in a fight scene could actually be funny, because she's short and has a hammer.
Now that we mention, actually, how did you like the fucking cat?
You know what? Cat was one of the more tolerable characters, because her design was not terrible.
I think you laughed at a joke the cat made once.
Yeah, it's probably. I'm sure she said perfect or something like that. Ha 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 ha. But the.
It was something about cat being upset at them, but I didn't understand that part at all. I was kind of trying to not zone out there.
Well done. That was another aspect of the show that, again, Snap is good because Snap breaks this streak, but. Fucking dogs. Snap did help break this streak, but in a show so dripping with subtext about sexuality and gender and all that stuff, we got very far into it with it being a very chaste show where, almost no one actually shows sexual desire. The dad just fucking bakes bread and shit. The ants, are obviously into each other, but there was a fucking... God.
Well... It focuses on sexuality in a different kind of strain. It's much more focused on sex as gender, not as a fucking expression of love.
I just found it odd that the show was at the same time really into the idea of that material, but it played such a little role in it. It's okay, just give me a character who wants to ask another on a date or something. You don't have to go far with it, but just do something. you get a little bit of that with the ants, I guess, but Snap was where that actually did break, and it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. And using Snap's gender ambiguity to instigate an actual change in relationship status with several people, like, that was clever.
One thing that really annoyed me about the show, like, all along, is that despite the fact that it's trying to break, like, the fucking social norms of every kind and be this magnificent, multicolored pony of a show, it manages to make every trope, and just every old trope from a cartoon or an anime, just tries to shove it in my face repeatedly, and it was fucking infuriating sometimes.
One of the biggest lost opportunities with this show is, as the antisocial injustice warlord, or whatever the fuck you called me, I'm obviously...
Antisocial injustice warlord.
Yes. I'm obviously not going to give a shit about any of the social posturing of the show. I don't care.
Aivu.
Dupe, are you there?
An abbreviation. A-I-W. Aivu.
Yay. But...
That's what you are.
I am. But the biggest lost opportunity in the show was they didn't actually tie any of the gender shit into the world building in a way that made sense. Like, a key thing in this show is...
Господи. Что? Нет. Я послушал.
Hey, there's a kid. We could watch High Guardian Spice together with the child, the appropriate audience, see if they like it.
Fuck my life, I forgot the kid was around.
Yeah, that scared me.
She's scared fucking shitless.
Ooh, a child, ooh.
I jumped out of my fucking headphones, dude.
Does he or she just kind of like jerk on your sleeve and be like, "Hey, I want a bread"?
No, she was like, "Hey, did you call me?" I was like,
does their name sound like Green?
No.
Okay, but one of the biggest missed opportunities in the show is how the the stuff that the people who made the show are interested in doesn't intersect with the world building in a way that makes sense or is interesting. That one scene where the professor, I forget their fucking name, but the main teacher guy, sits in the chair and gives the very trite speech about, I'm transgender. I take a potion and it lets me be the real me. That moment almost reads like a 2020 version of an old G.I. Joe cartoon, where the people making the show are, oh, we'll put a message in here and that'll please the parents because it seems educational. Other than just being very trite, to me, it seems like that misses the whole point, where in a magical world like this, where you can change your biological sex really easily, do you think that transgender as a concept would function in the same way?
1, it misses the point. 2, it lacks the context. 3, it lacks the grounding in the reality of the fantasy world that they've set up. 4, well, frankly, we still don't get enough explanation about the magic system in this world, because what are these potions? How do you procure them? Is it difficult? Do they have side effects? Do they have certain disadvantages or advantages to taking them?
In the context of the show, I mean,
are they maybe addictive?
I mean, I had a little question in my head, like, wait, what if you turned into a girl and got pregnant? Like, what would everyone die if you didn't take the potion for 9 months? But I did wonder that in my head. Other than that question, it was presented in such a sincere, matter-of-fact way that I'm willing to assume that they just work really well and no one gives a shit. But the word transgender only exists because if you are biologically one sex and try to live as like another gender or something, you're going to run into a lot of friction in the external world if you do that. And that's where the concept comes from. If you can just choose whatever you want to be and it works perfectly well and no one gives a fuck, there would be no concept of transgender. It would just be, oh, you just turn into one. Does that make sense? Like, do you pick up what I'm laying down there?
Yeah.
Where they didn't...
it just makes me annoyed.
Where they wanted to play with gender ambiguity and all that, but they just took... they just took real world shit and transposed it into this world. They didn't actually think of how it would play out in this world.
they just took the lazy path and just said there is a potion, but they didn't think through any mechanics of implementation or fucking what it incentivizes.
And on the topic of irresponsible adults, did you also find it creepy when the teacher guy like kind of pulled Snap aside and was like, "Hey, let me tell you about the joys of transformation magic"?
That was fucking like that was politically charged.
Yeah, that was
like
because here's the thing. That's a little
unnecessary.
Yeah, that's too, and it's a little too real, because if they established in this world, yeah, transformation magic it's no big deal, everyone does it. If they played it off like everyone knows about this shit, Snap just is if the only reason Snap didn't know about this was because he was young and he just hasn't happened across it yet, but it's really just no big deal in this universe, then it would come across as like, oh, this is no big deal in this universe, whatever. Because they try to do the transgenderism stuff one-to-one, a match with the real world, or at least how the show writers see it, I guess, it comes across as like it's supposed to be an analogy for the real world. And it just came off as very much like a Discord groomer thing, and it just felt really uncomfortable. If they had went all in with fantasy, it would have worked. Or if they had been like subtle about it, it would have worked. But the way they do it, it comes across as like a very jarring political message. Like, yeah, just send your fucking kids to schools and we'll secretly give them hormones and not tell you.
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's just the worst way they could have done that. And it just came off as really... And of course, when I did my thread on Twitter, I had several people who like liked every tweet I did except for that one. And it's like, really? Is that much a stretch? Is like adults shouldn't like secretly give kids hormones like away from the eyes of their parents? Is that really that much of a stretch?
No. If you are a child and there's an adult in charge of you, it's not up to you to change your body. It's a collective decision.
Yeah, it's like I'm willing to acknowledge there's gray area there, but it's like it just came across as like, fuck yeah, get children away from their parents, and you know, the first time they show any sign of gender ambiguity, just give them a bunch of pills and, you know, just no one gives a fuck. It's like, no, it just felt weird. It just felt weird, and it annoyed me because I know a significant number of people I interact with are going to be like, what would be the problem with that? It's like, no. I mean, I'm getting a little off topic here, and I might cut this part just because I think this is just me talking to you now.
Yeah, kind of, because now I just want to, like, fucking... I like, when I say that shit, I can immediately expect, like, somebody going in my DMs and saying, oh, but it's their own body. They can do with their body. Motherfucker, if you're 14 and you want to take hormones, it's not your body because you're not responsible for it. The person who is in charge of you is responsible for your body. If you get obese, it's not your height that people are going to crawl under. It's the person who fed you too much. If you have hormonal problems because of some fucking drug that you started taking, it's not you who's going to be taken responsible for it because you're 14. It's not your body until you're 18. And even then, you're not mature enough to make those decisions on your own. I would know.
It's I would know. Yeah, I mean, look at how fat I'm getting. I can't make my own decisions.
Look at me, and I'm not mature enough to be an adult.
Yeah, and part of the weirdness with it is the people making the fucking show. It's like, if they weren't posturing as like part of a movement or something, or they weren't if they weren't openly trying to like ingratiate themselves with like a certain social current, it wouldn't be so much a problem. But like, it just feels weird. Like it feels like the people making the show are like patting themselves on the back of like, yeah, we're normalizing this behavior. That makes us the good people. Like, we're real media people because we're helping to spread the message. And like, it just felt fucking creepy.
You know what? I think we've pretty much exhausted everything there is to talk about this anime at this point.
And I might even cut this end bit because I don't want to fucking... I don't want to fucking deal with it.
I want to start a thing here, alright? We're going to very briefly talk about something good here, all right?
like in the show.
Roxy's the best girl in the show.
Fuck. Are you talking about Shoku Tensei?
Obviously,
No.
we're talking about a good show for a change, and trying to entice Michi to talk about it with us as well.
Okay, we can just briefly say who best girl is, and then we're gonna actually
It's
get
Roxy.
it's fucking Eris, you fucking prick.
Fuck you.
How
You
is
Asuka loving son of a bitch.
yeah, she's just Asuka, but in medieval Europe. It's perfect.
Well, mine is warmer than room temperature this time around.
Yeah, that's cool. No, like Roxy's good, but Eris is better. That's the whole concept.
Well, here's the thing. Roxy's fucking... She's a woman. She's a mature woman. She acts like a mature person. She has, like, this arc where she comes in, she views Rudius as a child, and she's kind of annoyed with him, and then when she shows her his abilities, she gets jealous with him. She's, like, kind of peevish and fucking annoyed with him about how much and how easy it comes to him. And then she gets over it, and she starts to openly encourage him, and she's like, hey, you know what? That's alright. That's alright if he's going to be more powerful than me as a mage. That's fine. I'm alright with that. And she finds some joy in that, and then she uses that joy to propel herself to become a better mage. Like, she uses her negative emotions to become a better person and a better adult, and it's so good. And later, when she finds out that Rudius is in trouble, she fucking ventures to a different continent for him. Like, goddamn, how much more can you ask of him? Anybody than that.
Having red
She's
hair and being combative.
She's combative with people who have sex.
Oh god, I think it was surprising they added
That's
this
a good
pure-hearted, maidenly aspect to Roxy. I think with Roxy, they're almost going to do a thing where when she met Rudius, she was more mature than Rudius, but Rudius is almost going to sort of pass her. Well, I guess that's literally going to happen with age, if nothing else. But I think Rudius is going to kind of pass her, and she's going to seem innocent and naive compared to him, with how cynical and, like, over it he is. Which is an interesting dynamic.
She's a more mature people person, but her grasp on sexuality is much less advanced than Rudius.
Holy shit, I just realized something.
Yes?
Like, Rudius is perving on her the whole time, and, like, Rudius is a creep. But I just realized she was just given, like, a 7-year-old boy as an apprentice, and she's, like, 50, and she's, like, slowly, like, warming... Like, she's almost grooming him in, like, a really passive way. It's like they're perfect for each other.
Oh my god.
I never thought of that until now.
She's the best girl.
Yeah, it's like they're both creeps that are playing the long game with each other that have like an inappropriate relationship.
But he's now looking at her as his master, not as this like object that of lust, and she's reverted back.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like a mutual exploitation thing. Like they're both using the other, and they both have a kind of wrong-headed view of each other, but they're both gaining from it, which is kind of fun. Eris is just better though. It's like oh, Eris is a kid. It's like, yeah, Eris is the same age as Rudius, kind of. You know, they're growing up together. They're having fun little adventures and experiences. They're gonna have a great time, I bet.
I'll say that much. I'll admit that much. She has grown on me much more than she was initially, but she's just... It's just not much to her.
Eris is dumb.
All right.
Eris is dumb. That's part of what makes her charming. Roxy is going to be static like the whole time. Like that's her appeal, is that she doesn't really change. Eris,
I am so fucking afraid for the show. Though.
Eris starts as Eris starts as a piece of garbage, and Rudius has to like kind of beat her into shape a little bit, and so do her parents. And she's going to like slowly get better. And that's,
Oh my god, they also have a master-apprentice relationship, don't they?
in a way, kind of, where Eris is stronger than
Well, he
him.
Well, he literally is her master, and she is his apprentice in the field of science.
It's funny how many people in this show like make a token attempt to get a skill, but they can't really do it. Like Ghislaine is trying to learn to fucking read, I think.
She did learn to read,
Rudius is
actually.
learning how to use a sword, but he still uses magic 95% of the time. Eris is learning about magic. I think she's only really going to know enough about magic to maybe dodge it or something. Like, she doesn't use it.
Well, you have to look at it the same way you would at a medieval schooling system. Well, schooling system, but in medieval setting where you don't have a direct school where you go to, but there are a bunch of teachers who can teach you a bunch of things. And you may not use all of those skills actively, but the knowledge of them can help you in the field that you choose.
Yeah.
So, for example, Rudius doesn't fight with swords, but the fact that he knows the sword styles can help him use his magic in combat more effectively.
Yeah, like he knows, like Paul knows like every sword style. So just his relationship with Paul just lets him recognize like what people know and what they can do.
Like, Paul actually is a really good example of that. Paul is no mage at all, but he knows magic and how it works, and he knows how to fight mages because of it.
Yeah, he's just, if you see a mage, just fucking get up in their shit before they have a chance to wave their arms around.
And stab them.
Which I wonder how Rudius is going to handle that, because that seems like it's going to come up with him. But we were talking just best girl though. Can we agree that Sylphie is the worst?
Before I agree to that, I have to say something that scares me about Mushoku Tensei. Because I see this pattern, and it's frightening. So we have Eris as a romantic
We
interest.
sure do.
We can all agree on that.
Yep.
We have Roxy, who we can see also as a romantic interest.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
We have Sylphie, who is a childhood friend and a potential romantic interest.
Yep.
We have a maid girl who was brought up by the admission of her mother in the very beginning of the series to serve Master Rudius as a potential romantic interest.
That's also his half sister.
And she's not directly blood related, right?
No,
That's a trope.
No, she is.
In a
Who do you think got her
harem.
pregnant?
It's not her. It's not. It's the stepsister.
No,
right?
it's
a stepsister.
Paul fucked the maid. That's where the maid girl came from. This was literally the first conflict in the show, Thupa.
I mean, isn't that kind of a stepsister? No.
Are we talking about Rudius's soul or Rudius's body? Like, are you saying because he's
Rudius's body? No, I thought that was a stepsister.
No, like Paul is Rudius's dad, right?
Sister. All right.
So Paul's penis went inside the maid's vagina, and the little maid girl came out 9 months later. Paul's penis went in the mom's vagina, and Rudius came out 9 months later. Like, what? They both came from Paul's penis.
Well, that makes it even worse.
Why? You're jumping to conclusions that he's going to go for his sister. I mean, fair.
I'm not saying he's gonna go for his sister. I'm saying that the show sets up a harem with every little trope for different characters and different relationships to him. And I'm scared of that because I've seen a lot of harems in my time, and they're never good in the same manner Mushoku Tensei is. And I'm scared the show is gonna go downhill really hard.
I get the impression the show's going to turn into a situation where, this is not spoilers, but this is partially from just the vibe I get from what other people say. It's like, I feel like Rudius pulling shenanigans, basically his entire life, is just what the show's about. So I think there's going to be a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of bullshit of him like contriving excuses to be with this girl, or like this girl and this girl live together but don't know he's sleeping with both of them, and I think there's going to be a lot of stuff like that going on.
I don't want that to be that way.
They can pull it
Please,
off. No, they can do. Yeah, fuck it.
Be mature.
Be the one. Here's what makes it good. It's gonna be the one harem where he actually has sex with them.
And we've seen School Days. That doesn't end well.
Honestly, Rudy is getting his head cut off by a woman he loves. That's probably the best fate that could await him.
That would be a cool ending.
Yeah.
But School Days did it shittily. It was a bad ending, literally. And multiple meanings of the word, too. And all of them literally.
It's weird how we spent 3 hours talking about High Guardian Spice, and I don't feel all that excited. But, like, I feel the vitality soaking into my bones talking about Mushoku Tensei.
And I just brought the most trivial topic, too. Just the best girl.
That's the most sublime topic. That's the most important thing in the world, Thupa.
Well, because Roxy's important.
Yeah, but seriously, what's with fucking Sylphie though? Because at this point, they have such a non-history with each other. Sylphie is just a child that he knew once when he was a child. Like, they barely knew each other at this point.
She's a childhood front. She's objectively the worst girl right now because we don't know anything about her at present.
Yeah, he spent a year or two hanging out with Roxy.
They have to reintroduce her, but we see Roxy actively acting in the story. We have episodes dedicated to her.
But the thing with Roxy is Roxy doesn't really change, so Rudy is only knowing her for a little while, then meeting her later. That, you know, that's
Roxy changes
fair.
a bunch.
No, she doesn't.
And she has, well, for example, like, most recent episode with her and her parents, right?
Yeah, she's getting a little bit of character development, but, like, from Rudius's perspective, the things he knows and cares about Roxy for, she isn't going to change all that much by the time he sees her again. So that makes sense.
But we get to find out more about the character, and we get to see
finding out more about the character.
Evolve.
Finding out more about the character is not the character changing, though. That's different.
And we see the character evolving.
Yeah.
All the things that we
in
find
little
out.
ways. But I'm saying Rudius's vision of Roxy and, like, what she meant in his life, other than the introduced aspect of sex, they're not going to be that different by the time they get together again.
I think that they're going to be different.
Well,
that's fair.
Or the change would be more Rudius than her, I think. With Eris, they actually spent some of their formative years together. Like, they had adventures together, they took classes together. They've spent, like, what is it, 5 fucking years together now with, like, a mentor-mentee relationship and having adventures and striving together out with their Superd friend in the Demon Continent. Like, they have a real strong rapport with each other. With Sylphie, the time they spent
with Sylphie, there's nothing.
Yeah, it's
there's
Sylphie
nothing.
was just the cute girl next door that he used to hang out with a little while, and he wanted them to be together. Sylphie's only advantage is that she was the first girl. That's all she has.
She was the first girl, and I will admit she was a cute girl when she was, but right now we don't know anything about her.
Yeah, and who you are when you're fucking 5 isn't, like, a great predictor of who you're gonna be when you're 17 or whatever the fuck when they meet again.
It's a good predictor in anime.
Yeah.
In anime, it's a good predictor.
But it's like, in terms of...
Genuinely, we don't know how she looks, we don't know how she acts, we don't know how she has evolved, because she had to have.
I don't know if I've been spoiled or not. I'm pretty sure they're going to reintroduce Sylphie in the dumbest fucking way possible, where they, like, try to pull a twist and it's just so fucking obvious the whole time. I don't know if I'm right, because I'm trying not to get spoiled for this show, but...
We'll see. Another episode's coming in a couple of days.
Yeah, we'll see. Fucking... Oh yeah, I didn't work... It feels like Sunday, because I didn't work yesterday, but I got a 4-day weekend because of Thanksgiving. Hooray for me. Yeah, no. I will say... I'm an Eris fag. That's just how I am. It's in my blood.
You're also a birthday 4chaner, Jesus.
I'm also what?
4chaner.
I went to 4chan very late. Like, 4chan was basically already dead by the time I started looking at it at all. I mostly go to 4chan just to get recommendations for manga and shit.
Oh. I mean, it's not actually a bad place for
because 4chan will learn about the manga that are going to blow up before they blow up, which is really what it's good for.
Like, fucking recently I go on like on the R2D or whatever it was called, the fucking the tabletops 4chan. I just go there for Warhammer memes occasionally.
Thupa, what do you think about maybe we should loosen things up a little bit with how we do this when we do it?
I mean, sure.
Like, I feel like there's some topics where we're actually really good about just talking about shit that we're really interested about, and then some stuff where we're kind of reaching and like trying to just find things to say about it.
I think we did figure out some stuff with it. We didn't before about the show.
Thupa, our podcast about the show is longer than the show, almost.
Jesus.
Especially when you count the...
Now you're just making me sad.
Why is that sad?
Because our fucking podcast about the show is more substantial than the fucking show.
Well, it's certainly longer. I probably could have had you retell the show, and it would have been longer than the show. Yeah.
No.
Like, you notice how when we were talking Mushoku, like, things were just flowing, and it was, like, really simple?
Yeah.
Like, we were saying something we cared about at, like, all points. Do you think that's a product of being a little smarter about what topic we pick? Or...
Well, it's about talking about the things we care about,
yeah,
right?
Like, you know what? Maybe you were right the whole time. Maybe having, like, talk about High Guardian Spice... Maybe we should have, like, only talked about the parts that we found, you know, most interesting, rather than, like...
Talking about High Guardian Spice should be in context of something else that we care about, because we can compare the two, and one sounds really bad, and the other sounds good.
Yeah, because I could literally talk about Mushoku for days. Like, I could do that. I talked about High Guardian Spice for 3 hours. I feel like there's probably 1 hour of decent podcast in there, like, if we cut shit out.
Oh,
in terms of
we'll see about that.
Or not decent, but in terms of like places where we're really into what we're saying. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
Like Thupa, at any point did you feel like, oh, Green is saying this because he's talking about the show, but he wouldn't talk to me about this if we weren't recording?
You lost me a couple of times where I had to like really focus on what you were saying.
Because at a few points, like, we were looking for things to say. Like, Thupa, this, like, the Mushoku Tensei conversation we just had, like, that's all stuff that we would have said to each other even if we weren't recording, right? Yeah, that's kind of the difference there. And I think that's...
Well, I think I would have said the same things anyway. I don't come up with things so much.
Yeah.
I don't plan things so much.
Maybe we should just do nothing but a Mushoku Tensei cast. Just nothing but Mushoku Tensei. We talk about every episode for 5 hours. And we're like the Poddy cast, but with Mushoku Tensei.
We go episode by episode.
Scene by scene, bitch.
No. We could probably do that.
I'm not saying actually do this, but... I do want to get Michi for and talk Mushoku Tensei with the three of us, because I feel like we would have a lot of fun with that.
We'll get him then.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Thupa, I don't
write to people. If I come out to Michi right now, he's gonna be scared.
If you come out to Michi, well, I'd hope he'd be scared.
What if I come out as Michi?
Oh, that would be a trick.
I was talking in multiple voices
because
all
I'm so in touch with reality. I really need my two best friends to secretly be one guy. You know what? I'll get a hold of Michi. I'll see if we can maybe sometime next week we'll try to do that.
Okay. I'll try to figure out my week, but I'm only gonna know how it looks after Tuesday.
You have fun with your obligations. Watch Ranking of Kings, and I will see you later.
And you call me Thuper next time as well.
I'm not going to call you Thuper ever again. That happened once. Okay, goodbye, though.
Thuper.